Feeling guilty when I, 21F, have low days, feeling sad because my 22M boyfriend is grieving. Hi guys, my boyfriend and I have been together almost 1 year. Of those months too, we're just getting to know each other and see if we wanted to date one another. This May, his father passed away because he was sick. It hit him pretty hard because he was fairly close to him. I try my very hardest to always be there for him. Listen, comfort, console, make him laugh, distract him, everything I feel one must do to help. I don't know much about grief, but I try my very best to understand, and I do my research on how I can be the most help to him. One tricky part to all of this is that we are an interfaith couple. I am Catholic, he is a Muslim, both practicing. Our families are the typical traditional immigrants. This was something I tread very carefully with in the beginning, and even now, because we both have differences, of course. One main topic was kids. Before his father passed away, we both agreed that if this continues and we get married, have kids, we would teach them what I believe and what he believes and let them decide. Now, since his father passed one night before dropping me, hope he randomly tell me he wants to raise his kids Muslim. Whenever we have conversations like this, he does not like to talk about it for too long and tries to get away from the conversation. I understand it can cause anxiety. I hate having the conversation too, but I know this is very important to have. I get super sad thinking about it because I feel I'm sacrificing a lot and compromising my family. Will be very upset. BC, we're not allowed to marry outside Catholicism versus in his religion it's fine to marry a Catholic, and his mom won't mind. He doesn't mind celebrating Christmas as long as there is no religious aspect to it, but he wants to celebrate Eid. He would like me to come to the mosque here and there when married, just to learn about what his religion is. Not to convert me, but doesn't want to go to church, and if we have kids he wouldn't want them to go to church with me. I told him my biggest fear is losing myself and value in all this, and he said, as far as losing yourself, a relationship, marriage is compromise. Everyone loses a bit of themselves. BC, no one gets everything. And it goes both ways. OBV, and I think I lost sight of that in the beginning, and you shed some light on it. I try not to bring it up because he's already dealing with his father's death, and these conversations also need to be had, but I don't know what to do and how to bring it up. He only talks to me about what he's feeling. I am just stuck alone with my thoughts, trying to figure out what to do and give him time, but how much time I have no idea. I am sorry for the long rant, confounded face, and thank you for taking the time to read and reply. If you would like me to clarify anything, please ask and I will try my best to do so. Edit. He has said he would never want me to convert unless in my heart I wanted to. TLDR, feeling guilty when I, 21F, have low days, feeling sad because my 22M boyfriend is grieving. It doesn't sound like a low day to me. It sounds like a major issue for the two of you. It sounds like he wants to convert you to his faith, which is no joke. Could you imagine raising sons, daughters in the Muslim faith and everything that entails? You're only 21. Take some serious time to think this through. His situation is unfortunate for the time being, but you have to consider how you'll live the next 70+ years of your life. He may have said he doesn't want you to convert, but he also said a lot of other things that he's suddenly changed his mind on. Wait, so he talks about marriage being a compromise but doesn't want to celebrate Xmas religiously, but Eid is cool. Won't go to church but expects you to go to mosque. And your kids won't be allowed to go to church either. This is like the opposite of compromise. Also, if he wanted to convert you but you were unsure about it, do you think he would just flat out say, I want you to convert to Islam? Or would it be more effective to wait until you are married with children and have a much harder Way out? For sure 100% he asks you to convert if you go down this road emo. He already changed his mind once. In reality though, slowly pulling you along was the plan the whole time. I don't like organized religion period. But it sounds like it's something important to you. You should really think about this. So you can't celebrate Christmas, which is one of the most important days of your faith. But he can celebrate his? Yeah, this isn't it. It sounds like you're the only one compromising. I'd have a very serious discussion about this with him. It's not cool. If he doesn't show any interest in improving and being more willing to meet you in the middle, I'd dump him. Both of your religions are equally important in the relationship. If he can't accept that he's not worth it. You've only been together a year. I see no scenario in which you being Catholic and him being Muslim will work out long term in the case of having children with this man. You need to think long and hard on whether you really see this going well. Might be time to consider going your separate ways. I'd urge you to talk to your priest about interfaith marriages. My dad was not Catholic, but they were able to marry into the church. Dad became Catholic many years later. It might not be as cut and dry as you think. Next, your BF is going through trauma. Losing your dad and you're barely out of your teen years. Especially to illness is trauma-inducing. Trauma needs professional counseling to truly work through it, and so he's not carrying baggage for the rest of his life. Help him find a therapist and who specializes in trauma and grief counseling. He'll thank you later. Also help him find a grief group. It's basically as it sounds. A group of people grieving who talk in AA style and work through grief together. You are doing right by supporting him, but he needs professional help and also the ability to talk to those who are also grieving. Lastly, you need to stand your ground with your beliefs. If your agreement was to raise your kids in both faiths, you need to remind him that's what the agreement was. His grief is not a hall pass to change the relationship dynamic. If he's having a bad day, save it for tomorrow, but don't be a doormat. If you remind him of the agreement, and he doesn't change, then you need to take him seriously and realize he won't compromise. Matters of faith are core to a relationship. Disagreements around it should be an instant no-go and cause to end the relationship. Irregardless of how many years you've been together, do not be afraid to leave him if he is not willing to work with you. You are still young and have plenty of time to get over him and also find someone else if needed. P.S. Don't have kids in your early 20s. Wait till 25 or even 27 to start. Once you're a parent, everything changes. Get schooling done. Travel or dig into a hobby. Get married. Then have kids. They're great, but enjoy your 20s first. Being a parent will come. Pace yourself. Source: my dad committed suicide last year. I've been working through grief and the sudden loss of a parent. I also became a parent in my early 20s a number of years ago. Just sharing my experiences to hopefully help you. This is what is called incompatibility. Let him go. This relationship is over. Girl, tell him no. He is talking about compromise, and it sounds like you're the only one expected to give anything up. Go to him and tell him that you've decided the kids will actually be raised Catholic. Then when he's offended, ask him why he thinks it's okay to do that to you when he wouldn't allow it to be done for himself. Honestly, I doubt this relationship has staying power. Interfaith couples just don't work when one of them pushes their religion on the other. Which is exactly what he's doing. In the nicest possible way. This relationship is a waste of time. Double standards, yuck. You're the only one compromising here. He isn't making any significant compromises but is expecting you to make a lot of compromises. Once you're married, I'd bet my house he'd try and convert you to Islam and would insist on bringing The children up Muslim. If this isn't something you want, you need to leave. Interfaith relationships do not work. It might be roses and good times for now, but the deep issues will come out as your couple ages. I'd cut my losses and leave. Honestly, this is my advice, having been in the same situation and going too far into it. In the end, it ended up hurting even more. While there is no time frame for grief, May is 4 months ago. It is more than acceptable for you to be able to express yourself normally by now. If he's causing you to feel guilty when you are feeling down, then he's showing that he doesn't care, or care as much as you thought, about your feelings, hence yourself. It might be time to reevaluate your relationship. He's right. Marriage is a partnership, and all parties compromise. Him not allowing any children you may have to go to church with you is wrong. The religious aspect of celebrations should either both be observed, or both removed from the house. Anything else is not a compromise. Him wanting you to go to mosque with him, but not willing to go to church with you, again, is not compromise. These failings to compromise on religion leads me to believe that he is not being truthful with his, if your heart is not in it, I don't want you to convert, he will try to convert you. Also notice there is no talk from him about converting to Catholicism. Again, a one-sided compromise, made only by you. I clearly understand that he said he would not convert you. However, all the things you listed are the opposite. It's not fair if you have to go to the mosque while he won't go to church. He even decided upon your future kids that they are not allowed to go to church. Isn't that controlling? I agree to the point where kids are allowed to decide on themselves. But it won't work if they aren't given the options to choose. What if, just a scenario, your kids later decided to believe in your faith instead? Wouldn't it be a problem? I'm quite sure your partner won't accept it. And there goes on the problems. I've been in this dynamic before, and I understand mine didn't work. Okay, so it sounds like there's been a pretty big shift here from, we're going to be pretty open to our potential children believing what they choose, and we'll try to equally represent both religions, to a heavy emphasis on his own culture and religion. My question is, did this shift take place after his father's death? If so, I would maybe take a few steps back from the issue for a while. Because the death of a parent can make you feel pretty wacky for a while. I, 33F, have known since I was 13 that I don't want children. A month after my father died, I did an abrupt about-face and suddenly wanted to. It lasted about a year, and was serious enough that my husband and I decided I should go off birth control. And now, it feels like insanity to me. It was absolutely a reaction to my dad's death. I wanted to have his grandchild, I think, and it was real and intense, and it was mostly grief. It's very possible that your boyfriend is latching onto this stuff because it helps him feel close to his father. You guys have only been together for a year, right? Kids are a maybe someday thing, not an immediate plan. So, I would tell him that you'd like to let go of the topic of kids for the time being, and revisit it in a year. He may not change his mind, but I think there's a good chance he's not thinking totally clearly right now. Best of luck. My heart goes out to you here. I know how hard it was for my husband to support me through my loss. It looks like you two aren't compatible. Religious and spiritual and philosophical compatibility is pretty fundamental to a relationship. You're both still so young and not married and no kids. So it's not like you're breaking up a family. For you, apprehension about the proximity to his grief. I think you've given him more than enough time. A parent passing can change your outlook on life. And I don't really think him reneging on his prior religious needs from a long-term relationship is part of that. If his dad passed last week, then it might be more reasonable to chalk this up to emotional stress from grief. But we're talking months here. I'm not saying that grief doesn't last that long. It can take years, and the people we lose are never really forgotten. But you're not doing him or yourself any favors by swallowing your feelings and pretending that you're okay with his new religious demands of you. Tell him how you feel. Tell him why you're feeling low. You're walking down a dead-end road. You should turn around now before it gets any harder. You're 21. You've learned an important lesson. Just because you really like someone and want a future with them doesn't mean you're compatible and will have that future. You both have very different fundamental beliefs that will not blend without someone becoming resentful. You're both really young, and you don't have to settle down or decide that this is the one single relationship you'll ever have. The bottom line is you are not going to be happy together as you both mature and move further into adulthood. Consider your daughter or son being christened, but not because their father doesn't want them to be. Perhaps not even a playgroup with mothers from your church. No mass at Christmas. No nativity, maybe? How does that make you feel? That is the reality going forwards, because he has already said that you are the one that needs to compromise. I would say that for at least 2 years that grief changes you, and sometimes those changes are permanent. But you have pointed out that he only talks to you about what he is feeling. So I am getting the vibes that perhaps he doesn't ask you how you are doing. Perhaps he is a bit self-involved, and after a year you are starting to see that part of him more and more. You might be excusing what I know is a very difficult time in a person's life with general personality issues, which is understandable. But sometimes what you are seeing is the real person that has relaxed somewhat and become comfortable in being themselves around you. If this is not what you want your life and children's life to be like, then that is okay to step back and evaluate what it is you really want for your life, and it is okay to say that you don't want this even when you love someone, that your values just don't work together. Fundamental differences are those things that if they don't work, then it is a predictor of relationship stressors that often break people apart eventually, because they often don't get easier or better. They get more obvious and more difficult. They cause resentment, frustration, and eventually split the relationship. Sounds like he built a relationship with you on one basis: compromise and religious tolerance. Allowing children to choose between your faiths, and when you were invested he showed his true intentions. You compromise and he doesn't, and no choice or religious tolerance. You say you are losing yourself in this relationship. Well, you are. You are being manipulated into being a different person. Now you know what you are into. You have a choice. Make it before you have children who will be hurt by this manipulative person.
If you enjoyed this video, please check out our playlists full of similar content. Epicaricast is like doom scrolling for your ears. Please like, share, and subscribe.